Welcome, everyone, to History Uncovered, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories that shape our world, and sometimes the stories that get shaped for us. I'm your host, Sana Malik, a journalist who spent years unpacking the narratives we tell ourselves as a nation. Today, we're tackling a book that's as controversial as it is eye-opening, The Murder of History, a critique of history textbooks used in Pakistan by the late historian K. Aziz. Published in the late 1980s and early 1990s, depending on the edition, this book takes a scalpel to over 66 Pakistani history textbooks, exposing what Aziz calls systematic distortions, factual errors, misquotes, omissions, and ideological biases. Let me give you a quick rundown. Aziz argues that these textbooks aren't just teaching history, they're murdering it by twisting facts to fit a nationalist ideological mold. He points to things like the wrong date for the Lahore Resolution. Textbooks say March 23, 1940, but it was actually the 24th, yet we celebrate Pakistan Day on the 23rd. He critiques the portrayal of the 1857 War of Independence as a unified, Muslim-led freedom struggle, when it was more complex. The formation of the Muslim League, Iqbal's 1930 Allahabad address, Aziz says it's misrepresented as a clear call for partition when Iqbal didn't demand a fully separate state. The two-nation theory is glorified, while inconvenient truths, like Muslim loyalty to the British or the roles of leaders who weren't always saints, get omitted. Post-partition, events like the 1965 and 1971 wars are spun as victories or glossed over. Military coups are presented positively, and there's a heavy anti-India, anti-Hindu bias that ignores shared history. Aziz's point is, this isn't education, it's indoctrination, harming our kids' critical thinking and our national self-understanding. Joining me today is Dr. Ahmed Raza, a senior Pakistani history expert and academic who's long championed Aziz's work. Dr. Raza, you've taught at universities across Pakistan and written extensively on historiography. You believe this book is essential for exposing how our textbooks distort facts to promote myths. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you, Sana. It's a pleasure to be here. And yes, absolutely. Aziz's critique is a wake-up call we still need.
Great to have you. Our goal today is to debate if this book still matters in 2026. Has the murder stopped, or is it ongoing? I'll play devil's advocate here. I respect Aziz's scholarship, but I'll question if he overstates the case, if some simplifications are needed for national unity, whether textbooks have improved since the 1990s, and deconstructing official history risks fracturing a fragile society like ours. We'll keep it civil, passionate, and intellectual. Let's get started. All right, Dr. Raza, let's kick off with opening statements. Why does Aziz call it the murder of history? Can you summarize his strongest evidence of these distortions?
Absolutely, Sana. The title, The Murder of History, isn't hyperbole, it's a deliberate accusation. Aziz examined dozens of textbooks from primary to higher secondary levels and found them riddled with errors that aren't accidental. They're systemic, designed to indoctrinate rather than educate. He calls it murder because it kills the truth, replacing it with myths that serve the state's ideological agenda.
Absolutely, Sana. The title, The Murder of History, isn't hyperbole. It's a deliberate accusation. Aziz examined dozens of textbooks from primary to higher secondary levels and found them riddled with errors that aren't accidental. They're systematic, designed to indoctrinate rather than educate. He calls it murder because it kills the truth, replacing it with myths that serve the state's ideological agenda. Let me give you some of his strongest examples. Start with the Lahore Resolution of 1940. Every textbook says it was passed on March 23rd and we celebrate Pakistan Day accordingly. But historical records show the session started on the 22nd, discussions on the 23rd, and the actual adoption on the 24th. It's a small error? No, it's foundational. It sets the tone for fabricating a neat, heroic narrative. Then, the 1857 War of Independence. Textbooks portray it as a unified, Muslim-led jihad against British rule, the first step towards Pakistan. But Aziz points out that's nonsense. Many Muslims, including key figures like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, were loyal to the British and even helped suppress the revolt. It was more a sepoy mutiny with Hindu and Muslim participation, not a proto-Pakistan movement. This distortion glorifies a false unity and erases complexities. On the pre-partition period, the Indian National Congress is depicted as a purely Hindu organization bent on oppressing Muslims. But Congress had Muslim presidents and members. It was secular in intent. The Simla Deputation of 1906. It's shown as a spontaneous Muslim demand for safeguards, but it was orchestrated by British officials to divide Indians. The Lucknow Pact of 1916. Textbooks say it was a Muslim victory, but it was a compromise where Muslims gave up separate electorates in some areas. Leaders are idealized too. Allama Iqbal's 1930 Allahabad address is taught as a clear demand for a separate Muslim state. But read it. He spoke of a Muslim India within India, a consolidated Northwest Muslim state as part of a federation, not full partition. Jinnah's role is exaggerated into saint-like infallibility, ignoring his earlier secular leanings or ambiguities. Post-1947, the 1965 war is called a great victory, with tales of Pakistani pilots downing dozens of Indian planes. Reality, it was a stalemate at best and we lost territory. The 1971 war, barely mentioned or blamed entirely on India and Bengalis, omitting our own military's atrocities. Military coups like Ayub Khan's are presented as necessary stabilizations, not undemocratic grabs. Aziz's evidence is meticulous. He quotes textbooks directly, contrasts with primary sources. This isn't just sloppy writing, it's deliberate to foster blind nationalism, anti-India hatred, and uncritical loyalty. It harms us by preventing real understanding of our past, stunting critical thinking in students.
That's a powerful overview, Doctor, but let's push back a bit in my opening. Isn't some simplification necessary for school kids? History for 10-year-olds can't be a PhD thesis. Nuance might confuse them. And does exposing all this help or hurt national identity? In a country like Pakistan with ethnic tensions and external threats, maybe a unified narrative, even if imperfect, builds cohesion. Aziz wrote this decades ago. Have things improved?
Go ahead with your response. Sana, simplification is one thing, outright lies are another. Aziz isn't against age-appropriate teaching, he's against fabrication. Kids can handle basic truths, like the 1857 revolt involved many groups and not all Muslims fought against the British. That's not confusing, it's honest. Distortions don't build identity, they build fragility. When youth discover the truth later, via internet or abroad, they lose trust in institutions. That's more damaging.
Fair point on trust. But couldn't Aziz be selective himself? He focuses on distortions favoring Pakistan's narrative, but every country does this. American textbooks whitewash colonialism, Indian ones minimize partition violence. Is it fair to single out Pakistan? And in a fragile society, deconstructing history might empower extremists who rewrite it their way. Unity first, truth later?
Interrupting briefly, Aziz acknowledges other countries' biases, but his focus is Pakistan, because that's his context. He's not anti-Pakistan, he's pro-truth. And unity built on lies crumbles. Look at 1971. Ignoring Bengali grievances led to breakup. Truth fosters real unity through understanding.
That's compelling. But let's think about kids' psyches. Exposing myths might make them cynical, questioning everything. Is that healthy in a developing nation?
Better cynical thinkers than indoctrinated followers. Aziz argues education should empower, not program. We've covered a lot in openings. Let's move to the deep dive.
First major topic. Pre-partition myths, like the 1857 War, Simla Deputation, Lucknow Pact, 1937 elections, and the Lahore Resolution's wording and date. Dr. Raza, defend Aziz. Why are these distortions so harmful?
These are the building blocks of our national story, Sana.
Take 1857. By calling it a war of independence led by Muslims for Pakistan, textbooks ignore that it was sparked by Hindu sepoys over greased cartridges, and many Muslims sided with the British. Sir Said even wrote a book defending British actions. This myth creates a false continuity from 1857 to 1947, portraying Muslims as eternal victims and rebels. Harm? It breeds paranoia and ignores our diverse history. The Simla Deputation, presented as Muslims uniting to demand rights, but Viceroy Minto invited them. It was British divide and rule. Omitting that hides how colonial powers manipulated us. Lucknow Pact. Textbooks say Muslims got concessions. Actually, it was mutual. Congress accepted separate electorates. Muslims accepted joint in Bengal and Punjab. It spun as Muslim cleverness over Hindus. 1937 elections. Congress wins big, but textbooks say they oppressed Muslims immediately. Truth, Congress ministries were mixed. Some Muslims joined. The oppression narrative justifies the League's rise, but oversimplifies. Lahore Resolution, not just the date, wording said independent states plural, not one Pakistan, later edited to singular. This hides the original federal vision. These distortions indoctrinate kids into seeing history as Hindus versus Muslims, ignoring alliances and complexities.
Strong examples. But devil's advocate, isn't emphasizing Muslim grievances necessary to explain partition? Without highlighting oppression, why separate? And for unity, portraying 1857 as inspirational, even if stretched, motivates patriotism. Hasn't the curriculum reformed? Post-2010, some books acknowledge Simla's British role.
Motivation through myths is dangerous. It leads to intolerance. Yes, some reforms, but core narratives persist. Aziz shows grievances were real, but exaggerated in texts to vilify India or Hindus. That's not education, it's propaganda.
But in diverse Pakistan, a strong Muslim identity narrative holds us together. Full accuracy might highlight divisions, like Punjabis versus Bengalis pre-1971.
Exactly. Hiding divisions caused 1971. Truth prevents repeats.
Next, portrayal of leaders and movements. Aziz says Iqbal didn't demand full separation. Jinnah's idealized, morally questionable figures ignored. Your take.
Leaders are turned into demigods. Iqbal's address, he proposed a consolidated Northwest Indian Muslim state within India, not sovereign Pakistan. Textbooks misquote to fit two-nation theory. Jinnah, portrayed as lifelong separatist, but he was ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity, joined Congress first. His 11 August 1947 speech on secularism, barely mentioned. Other figures, Aziz notes some freedom fighters were opportunists or corrupt, like Chaudhry Rehmat Ali, who coined Pakistan but was anti-Jinnah later, or ignored leaders like Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, who opposed partition. This hagiography prevents critical assessment, teaching hero worship over analysis.
But heroes inspire. Kids need role models. Deconstructing Jinnah might weaken respect for founders. And Aziz, wasn't he biased? Exiled after criticizing Bhutto? Maybe bitter.
Inspiration from truth is stronger. Aziz uses sources, not bias. His exile shows the cost of truth-telling.
Point taken, but in fragile states, myths bind. Look at Turkey's Ataturk cult, works for unity.
Until it doesn't. Suppression breeds backlash.
Next, post-1947 distortions, 1956, 1962, 1965, 1971 wars and coups.
Here it's blatant. 1956 Constitution called Islamic Republic, but textbooks ignore it was parliamentary, abrogated by Iskandar Mirza and Ayub. Coups praised as reforms. 1965 war, 17 days of glory, claiming 10-to-1 kill ratios. UN records show stalemate, and we ceded land at Tashkent. 1971 portrayed as Indian conspiracy, ignoring our East Pakistan policies, language imposition, election denial, atrocities omitted. This whitewashes military failures, justifying authoritarianism. Harm, perpetual victimhood, no accountability.
Harsh, but wars are sensitive. Admitting losses demoralizes. Textbooks improved post-2000, mentioning 1971 more honestly. Isn't full disclosure divisive, reopening wounds?
Healing needs truth. Germany teaches the Holocaust for that reason. Omissions repeat mistakes.
But Pakistan's not Germany. Ongoing threats. Some distortions protect morale.
Morale from lies is false security.
Last, overall impact. Ideological indoctrination, anti-Hindu India bias, lack of critical thinking.
Summed up, texts promote two-nation theory as eternal truth, ignoring pre-Islamic heritage, non-Muslim contributions. Anti-India bias fosters hatred, not peace. No critical questions, just memorize myths. Impact? Generations unable to think independently, prone to extremism.
But hasn't globalization helped? Kids access real history online, and Aziz selective ignores positive aspects like promoting pride.
Globalization exposes lies, eroding trust. Pride from truth is real.
Great discussion. Now, simulated audience Q&A. I've got 4 thoughtful questions from listeners. First, do modern textbooks still have these issues? Dr. Raza?
Yes, unfortunately, a 2023 SDPI report found persistent biases. Lahore date still wrong in some provinces. 1965 glorified. 1971 understated. Reforms sporadic, not systemic.
IDAD, progress in Punjab and Sindh curricula, more inclusive language, but yes, issues linger, perhaps inevitable in state education.
Inevitable only if we accept it.
Second, how to balance truth with patriotism.
Patriotism is loving your country enough to improve it. Teach accurate history with context. Acknowledge mistakes to learn. Aziz says truth makes stronger patriots.
Agree, but phased. Basics first, nuances later. Overdose of critique might breed apathy.
Apathy from lies, not truth.
Third, impact on youth identity.
Distorted history creates confused identity, defensive, insecure. Real history builds confident, empathetic youth who value diversity.
But in a multicultural Pakistan, a unifying myth helps. Exposing flaws might fragment, e.g., Baloch or Sindhi youth questioning central narratives.
Fragmentation from exclusion, not truth. Inclusive history unites.
Fourth, is Aziz's critique too harsh?
Harsh but necessary. He documents meticulously. It's the textbooks that are criminal.
Respectfully, selective, focuses on negatives, maybe overlooks how texts evolve or global contexts.
His point is the system, not evolution, still valid.
Time for closings. Dr. Raza, why should everyone read this book?
Read it to reclaim your history. Aziz exposes the murder so we can resurrect truth. It's essential for educators, parents, students, to foster critical thinkers, not indoctrinated citizens. In 2026, with misinformation rampant, it's more relevant than ever. Don't let myths define us. Let facts free us.
Well said. My wrap-up is, Aziz's critique is invaluable, shining light on distortions that warp understanding, but we must weigh its value against risks. Over-deconstruction in a volatile society could unsettle without rebuilding. Textbooks have improved somewhat, thanks partly to such critiques. Balance truth with unity. Question, but constructively. Thanks, Dr. Raza. This was enlightening.
Thank you, Sana. Spirited debate.
That's our show. Tune in next time. Goodbye.